Jazz clubs around the world are sitting empty, but jazz musicians will always have great music and stories to share. And since jazz fans aren't able to get out to hear great music, we will deliver jazz to you at home. Welcome to Jazz Home Delivery with Tim Tamashiro. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Jazz Home Delivery. This is an edition in support of International Jazz Day. I'm very, very excited to be celebrating International Jazz Day with you. This is actually, as well, episode 1 of the Virtual Jazz Festival on behalf of JazzYYC. This is the TD International Jazz Festival. I'm going to pull up all the magic on this and show you what it's all about. I'm going to put that right across. See, it's TD, JazzYYC, TD International Jazz Festival. Pretty excited about this because over the next 28 days, we will be featuring 56 artists on this little show of ours on the internet. It'll be streaming to JazzYYC's Facebook page, the Jazz Home Delivery Facebook page, and onto YouTube as well. So very excited about that. So thank you for being part of it. We have 2 wonderful guests coming up to join us. But first, I want to play a little bit of a special message that has been sent to us by the folks at International Jazz Day. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Mika Shino from the Herbie Hancock Institute of Jazz, wishing you a very happy International Jazz Day. We're so grateful to our friends at JazzYYC in Calgary for helping to keep jazz alive and strong during these times.
How do people find the stream?
We're so excited to watch the incredible educational events that are planned and to see and hear the amazing artists from all over Calgary and Canada who are coming together to celebrate jazz virtually over the entire month of May. To all of our friends in Canada, Calgary, and the phenomenal Calgary Jazz Collective, JazzYYC, we wish you an exciting, educational, and stimulating month of jazz. We're there with you in spirit, and from all of us here at the Herbie Hancock Institute of Jazz, we're wishing you a very happy International Jazz Day. Thank you.
Yay! We have the International Jazz Days here from JazzYYC and TD. Very, very excited to have that happening. And please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 wonderful artists joining us this evening. The wonderful Bill McBirnie from Toronto, and also joining us from Calgary, we have the one and only Johnny Summers. And here we are. We're going boom, boom, boom. And there we are. All 3 of us on the screen together. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi. That's for me. This is the first time I've done Calgary.
This is Bill's first gig in Calgary, ladies and gentlemen. So it's wonderful to have you here. Thank you.
How was the flight?
This is your 3rd time, Johnny?
This is my 3rd gig in Calgary.
Your 3rd gig in Calgary. That's right.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us, you can see that there are all sorts of different images up on the screen. Some of them are grainy, some of them aren't grainy, but you know, we sound great, don't we, guys?
I look grainy in real life, so this is smoother than I normally ever appear. It's like oil of Olay for me.
Oil of Olay. Bill is joining us from Toronto, and Bill, we're just so happy to finally get a chance to be able to see you and to talk to you, because I've been a big fan of yours for at least a couple decades, and I'm just so excited to have you on the show. It's International Jazz Day. What a great day to meet.
Oh, no, excellent. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to be here. My pleasure.
Wonderful. Johnny, you and I have known each other for at least 2 decades as well. And I remember you when you were still in diapers.
Yeah, I remember you changing my diapers.
Yes, exactly. I'm at the age now where I have to think about wearing diapers again, actually. So, hey, I wanted to show you guys something. The viewers will probably be really interested in this as well. You know, I mean, it is Jazz Days, and you know, what goes better than a cocktail on Jazz Day? Now, the thing is, though, that we're kind of on TV right now. Is it appropriate to drink? Thoughts? No,
Mhm.
no thoughts.
You mean before or during?
During the show, I'm going to show you a trick that I just learned. This is absolutely
Okay.
amazing. So you have your standard teacup, okay?
Yeah.
And this is what you do on the inside of the teacup. What you do is you put a little bit of tape in there. You can't really see it, but what you're doing is you're taping a tea bag string onto the cup, and then you can pour anything into it that you want to. I'm thinking, I don't know, I could put some wine in there, maybe. No?
Gotcha.
Oh, I'll probably have a Fresca, actually. But I thought that was a really good idea, a little trick, that I've often said that there's only two kinds of jazz, thinky and drinky.
That's brilliant.
So, Bill, did you do anything special in celebration of International Jazz Day today?
Actually, it was a lot of sound checking and tech work in prep for this. And the only reason for all the grain, I think, Tim, is that it's heavy traffic here in Toronto.
It is heavy traffic. There's so many people watching you.
Exactly.
That must be it. Johnny, did you do anything in celebration of International Jazz Day?
Well, I had a radio interview this morning, and then just getting ready for this, getting all the stuff ready. But I did listen to Leila Bialy's new record, which I think is fantastic.
Leila Bialy.
And I love that one a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's Corey Weeds posted. He said, International Jazz Day is like every day is International Jazz Day for me. We're doing it all the time. It's like Valentine's Day. If you only do it on Valentine's Day, gentlemen, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, Tim. You're a romantic.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. International Jazz Days, for everybody watching, if you didn't know, it really it was an idea that came up by Herbie Hancock, and was it Herbie Hancock? Yeah, it was Herbie Hancock. Yep. And what he wanted to do is to have a day to highlight jazz and its diplomatic role of uniting people in all corners of the globe. And it's a lovely way to be able to say, yeah, jazz has always been here to be a diplomat and to be a friend to everybody. And goodness knows there's people like Dave Brubeck and Louis Armstrong and many others who traveled the world even during the Cold War and on behalf of jazz and saying, let's unite together. So it's a really nice idea to be able to be celebrating International Jazz Day. And we're going to do it 28 days in a row. How about that?
Wow. It's 28.
It's going to be pretty amazing. So I'm going to, Bill, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to pop off and talk to Johnny and learn about that amazing collection of trumpets that he has there in the background. But we'll be right back to you here in a moment. All right? Thank you so much. We've got Johnny Summers here, and there's the two of us there. Holy cow. I'm absolutely excited to have you with me.
It's a pleasure, man. As always.
It's
known you a long time.
You've been busy trying to wrap your head around what is happening, in jazz now that COVID is part of our life. Can you tell me about some of the stuff that you've been kind of working through in your own mind?
Well, I mean, I think there's a for me personally, and then there's what I think culturally is happening, and and then speaking as the artistic director of the Calgary Jazz Orchestra, and how that affects, I think, arts groups. So for me personally, I remember the very first week we went into quarantine some 40 days ago or something ago, and the artists were all saying, "Oh, this is great," and all the artists are going to create, and I'm like, "No, I'm going to sleep. I'm just going to sleep and practice and eat healthy and go run and spring clean." And so I've been doing a lot of that. But while I'm doing that, of course, I'm thinking about, planning for the future. When are we going to be allowed to have concerts? When can we have 100, 200, 500, 1,000 people come together again? What will that look like? Everybody being forced into this medium, this isn't something that most of us did. So now being forced into this, moving forward, will this become more part of our reaching out to people and connecting with them in different, better ways? And I know for myself, I just recorded and released an album called Baker's Dozen, celebrating Chet Baker. So, which is great. I'm excited about it. I just found out yesterday that we won some awards for it. And I'm really
What were
proud
the
of the work. We won Global Music Awards, 3 of them, for best musical group, best album, and I won best instrumentalist, which was really flattering. But the touring that we had planned and the releases and everything all got canceled, even the live stream, because we wouldn't have the guys over in the studio here. So I think when we can, we'll do a live stream concert online, and then when we can, we'll replan the tours. But but that starts me thinking. We have people that are cautious, I should say, but club owners that are cautious to book acts, and acts that are cautious to book plane tickets and to commit to dates, because how does it all spin back up? And how far can we go until we have a safe measure to have people sitting shoulder to shoulder? And so there's a lot of which are bigger questions than me, but it's also pushed me into a place where we're going to be doing a series of recordings here in my rehearsal hall in my studio of small group jazz that I've been wanting to do for years, but now I've finally set up the studio and set everything up so that we can release it to a subscription basis. So people who subscribe on my website at johnnysummers.com. So whoever subscribes there can, if you just join the email list, we'll send you information, but then we'll be creating music specifically for those dedicated fans that want it. And then I can do so much more creatively than just an album every year or two, because of all the work that goes into promoting something. And we can listen. I can listen to the feedback of the people going, especially the ones that come to the CJO series and say, I always write different themes, and I orchestrated the music for Walt Disney for the Calgary Jazz Orchestra. So I've always loved Disney music, but I really fell in love with it in the jazz context that I was writing things in. So we can record with a quartet or quintet and then still release that to people who are interested in that kind of a product. So, and getting to engage.
So this is, would you say that this is the biggest challenge that musicians are faced with now, is to find ways that you can still stay connected with fans?
Absolutely. Thankfully, social media is still there. And so most of us are able to do this or something like this. I think that the other big challenge for artists is, truthfully, I don't want to sound negative, but it is the fact that most of our income is from performing. And now that's been pulled from us because most people expect music these days to be free on streaming services. So, and if you're not on the streaming services, you don't have a presence. So it's this very difficult season for musicians in general. And of course, the isolation and the quarantine and COVID makes it more so for, how do we make a living, and how do I pay everybody to make recordings, to give out, to give out for free? That's a very difficult thing. So that question hasn't been answered. So I'm going to try it with this kind of approach, but yeah.
Well, good luck with that. I know everybody's just doing the very, very best that we can to be able to find ways to be able to stay connected to people and whatnot.
Right.
And from the background, it looks like you probably could use a few more trumpets as well. So Daddy's got to pay for those somehow. How many trumpets have we?
That's right,
here, dude.
I don't know how many are back there. Maybe 20. I think I have. I don't know how many I have on gigs. Cody's always bugging me. He's always trying to get the audience to guess, and whoever gets the closest guess gets a free CD or something. But Cody Hutchinson, I think it's roughly, 45.
Goodness.
So I have the main few I play, and then but as I've traveled through the years, and then come across this horn, I came across this 1952 Martin Committee, which is what Chet Baker played and what Miles Davis played for his whole career. And so, I played this thing and it was beautiful and it was a very good price. So, and I remember Cody was standing in front of me. He was trying out a new bass amp, and I was playing this committee. And I'm like, yeah, Cody, man, what do you think of this, man? Check this out, this horn, man. And I was playing like Miles Davis transcriptions. Now, as a trumpet geek and a music geek, I'm like, this is great. It can sound more like Miles. I mean, I can't, but I can sound more like him. And so I'm getting into this. I'm like, this is killing. And then I'm like, so Cody, what do you think? And he goes, I don't know. Sounds like you playing trumpet. But yeah, so I just, and sometimes it's for different shows, or if there's a recording or something I'm doing and I want a little different sound. I like having a big range of instruments to pull from.
Because I mean, the image that pops into my mind, especially with your vast selection of horns back there, is that this is kind of like selecting golf clubs, right? Depending on what the use is for. Is that a correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can do anything with one golf club, right? You know, Tiger Woods is going to hit anything with a 3-iron anywhere he wants, but he's going to prefer different tools for different jobs. Yeah,
for sure. Well, I'm going to give you a job right now, and I know you have a trumpet near you, and I'm wondering if maybe you play us a little song of some sort, maybe something from the Calgary Jazz Orchestra. Is that what you're choosing? Tell us about the song that you'd like to play.
Let's do. Well, I'm going to do one from. This is a single. We have a music video, 2 music videos we made for the new record, and this is one that I took. We did one for My Funny Valentine, which features the Calgary Jazz Orchestra. In the video, you can see them, and then they're all on my social media and on my YouTube channel and stuff. And this one, though, is Let's Get Lost, that we made a music video for, and it's with my quintet and string quartet. And what I was doing for this track, for the record, was, you know, what if Chet Baker were recording now? You know, he had a concept of his sound and a concept of the music that he played, but would it and could it sound a little bit different to be a little bit more, you know, for today's audience, just a little, but still be true to his kind of his hip kind of smoky style. So I did an arrangement of this, and then I've asked my friend, you know him, Spencer Sheen, who's been my engineer for years, to send me a track just for tonight of the record. So I've never played to a track before in my life, but this is music minus me plus me.
I love it. What's the name of the song? What's the name of the song?
It's called Let's Get Lost. Let's get lost, lost in each other's arms. Let's get lost, let them sound alarms. And though they'll think us rather rude, we'll tell the world we're in that crazy mood. Let's defrost in a romantic mist. Let's get crossed off everybody's list. To celebrate this night we found each other. Oh, let's get lost. Let's get lost, lost in each other's arms. Let's get lost, let them sound alarms. Though they'll think us rather rude, we'll tell the world we're in that crazy mood. Let's defrost in a romantic mist. Let's get crossed off everybody's list. To celebrate this night we've found each other. Oh, let's get lost.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen. That's Johnny Summers. A little round of applause for you. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Let's Get Lost. A tribute to Chet Baker. And that's off your brand new album called Baker's Dozen. That's correct, right?
That's right, yeah, on Cellar Music. And that one goes out to Todd in Toronto who requested that. Todd Tamborelli, I think you're watching, man. So that goes out to you.
Request.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that's it. No more requests.
No. My joke is, yeah, I'll do the request if I know it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Johnny. We're really pulling for you, with the big changes that are happening. And it's obviously awkward to release a brand new album literally right when COVID hits. Did you release it like days before we were all?
It was, April 3rd. So it was, the first release was beginning of February, beginning of March was the second single, and then the album April 3rd. And it's as awkward, Tim, as talking to you right now on screen, not wearing pants.
So,
I mean,
what Johnny's saying is that he's not wearing pants. I am definitely wearing pants. Oh, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Johnny. Do you mind if I pop over and talk to Bill here a little bit?
Please do.
I would love it. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Summers, a little bit more applause there for you. I got an applause button here. It's working. So we're going to get over now and just have a little chat now with Bill McBirnie. Look at here's Bill McBirnie. Holy cow, bear with me. Oh man, I got to figure out how it all works. There we go. There's Bill. Oh, you're looking good there, my friend.
Just as a segue, that's an excellent project. I love that. Chet Baker, he's the first guy I transcribed. And actually today I was working on one of his solos. You'll know it, of course, but not for me, from Chet Baker Sings.
Yeah.
And I must have run it down. I was going to do it 5 times, and then every 5 times I felt like I'd do it. And I must have run it down about 30 times. It's a great solo, but that's a great project, Johnny. Excellent. So I'm a big Chet Baker, and always have.
It's always so much fun to be able to cover the people that you admire in life. And I know, I've admired you for a long time, but I've never picked up a flute. I wish I could play flute, Bill. It's one of those things that I've often thought, if it came right down to it, and this might not be a fair challenge, but if it was between you and Ron Burgundy, I'd put my money on you.
I'm a little more legit, cleaner, a little bit sort of. I admit, yeah.
So you've been busy in the last little while. You do gigs and you teach, and you also have just written a book.
Yep.
What's the name of the book?
The name of the book is the Technique and Theory of Improvisation, and it's basically a practical guide for flautists, doublers, but really it's quite generic in many ways too. So it's good for any instrumentalist. And the book has been doing remarkably well. I'm actually quite shocked.
So happy to hear that.
Yeah, I published it in the fall, and it was successful enough that I've just done an ebook version of it. But the sales have been quite something. I mean, in fact, Tim, it's done better than any CD I've ever released. It's very, very strange. But because I see myself more as a performer than an author, of course. But
we all do. Yeah. But the interesting thing about your method of performing is that you are just so adept at improvisation. I could see how people would be passionate about learning what your process is in improv. And I mean, you practice extensively, don't you?
Oh, I admit it. I'm not sure which 10,000 hours I'm on, and I admit it. Yeah.
How do you practice?
Well, any practice regimen evolves. So I remember entirely what it was like at the beginning, and just trying to get control of the instrument physically.
Sure.
So I've done all the classical stuff and done some work with symphonies and that sort of thing. But when I decided to improvise, then I essentially had to start over. It was really like starting music all over, because I had to understand much more theory. You have to understand what you're trying to play. And my classical background wasn't helpful for that purpose. So I had to, learn basic vertical and horizontal relationships, melody and harmony. The other thing was, with classical background, my classical technique wasn't working. So I had to sort of reinvent my approach to the instrument physically to get it to work in a non-classical way. And that was a challenge. That took time. So that's why the book is broken down into the technique and the theory, because I was confronting those two things when I decided to switch from classical to jazz. So I know the problems. I've lived them. But in terms of how I practice,
that you decided to make that shift from classical to jazz.
I'd always been listening to jazz as a kid, but I decided I didn't want to be script bound any longer in my early 20s, and that's when I got serious about learning how to improvise.
So it's been a year now.
So in fact, Tim, you were asking me how I practice. Now, the way I practice, I don't do long tones, I don't do scales, I don't do technicals, I don't do etudes, I don't do anything. What I do is I put something on and I play with it. So I'm practicing improvising all the time. So that's all I do. I just play with records.
This is kind of what I was getting at, because one of my favorite things is to be able to watch you on Facebook or on YouTube when you post a new video, because that's what you're doing. You're putting on a song and you're jamming to it. And it is absolutely mesmerizing for me to hear you do that.
Yep. Well, believe it or not, it's not a performance. It's me practicing.
Which is great, and that's why I would imagine it would be so interesting to people.
I'm just gonna digress here a little bit and pick up on a theme that you guys were working on about requests, because it ties into my new album. Of course, when you're recording, that's a different environment.
Yeah.
And the latest album that the latest release is entitled "The Silent Wish," and it's just a duo with myself and Bernie Sininsky on piano. And actually, that's up for a Juno Award as Best Instrumental Album. Exactly. It's up for a Best Instrumental Album of the Year. And somehow we surfaced. And because of the postponement of the Junos, we're still in the running. But in any event, there is a theme to that album, which is sort of interesting. And I did this album essentially for my wife. And I'm usually a sideman, but when I'm leader, I often tease the audience. And I say, the band does not take any requests except for my wife.
Really?
It's a joke, son. But you know something? That's the foundation for this album, because my wife has been telling me for years, she says, Billy, why don't you record an album of all the tunes I like? Because other people will like them too. So that's what I did. They're all her picks.
That's amazing.
And her name is Svetlana, so she's Russian. And what's also interesting about the outcome of this album is she didn't even notice it herself. But when it was sort of like all done, I pointed out to her, do you realize that every tune on this album is in a minor key?
Really?
There's no major. Yeah.
So do you think that is part of her upbringing that we're hearing?
It's a Russian soul. But it wove an interesting thread through the album, and people do respond to the repertoire. It's very interesting. Mm-hmm. So I don't take any requests except for my wife, and it's true per the last album.
An executive producer credit on the album or something like that.
She does get a full acknowledgement in the liner notes.
Full acknowledgement. That's right. Bill, you have a number of flutes as well, and I think how many flutes do you have with you right now?
Oh, you know something? They're everywhere.
Really?
I put them everywhere, just so I've got one nearby, because there's one in the trunk. There are a couple here. There's some in the closet, and they're all over the place. And some I use for playing, and some I use for practicing. And so I'm sort of promiscuous when it comes to flutes, because quite frankly, I don't care if it's a flute. I'm happy to play it. So I've got some somewhat higher end instruments, and then some what Ian Anderson would probably characterize as twirlers. So they're just pieces of junk, and I practice on them. But I'm happy with all of them, quite frankly.
That's amazing, and you can make any flute sound amazing. You have a song that you can perform for us right now on one of the flutes that you have there at the desk with you, don't you?
Sure. Yeah. Sure thing. This is the flute.
Yeah.
It's a little unusual.
Yeah. Is it plastic?
Exactly, it's plastic.
It's plastic. It's a plastic flute, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a plastic flute.
If you can play a plastic saxophone, then you can play a plastic flute.
So anyhow, I'll just have to call it up here.
Yeah.
I picked a tune that is sort of in keeping with the times right now, and it's "Things Ain't What They Used to Be."
Oh, that's perfect. Let me set this up for you beautifully here. Bill McBirnie is playing here on the JazzYYC International Jazz Day. This is the virtual festival, and we're just so happy to have Bill McBirnie here. He's playing "Things Ain't What It Used to Be." Bill, just take it away there, my friend.
Okay, here we go. See if I can find it. I think we've heard enough. This is going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill McBirnie, "Things Ain't What They Used to Be." That's amazing. But that's you practicing.
Pardon me?
You're practicing. Doing your thing.
Yeah. Yeah, just sort of practicing. That's right. I didn't realize it was going to be that long. I got tired of myself. Anyway.
The entire meal was delicious. Would recommend.
One thing I was it just occurred to me is roaming around on the web, I found out that it's actually Duke Ellington week. So this is also apropos because, of course, he wrote the tune. So
there you go. It is a very, very appropriate. And Bill, I just wanted to bring up to the fact that you have a #1 Billboard hit with a band right now called 480 East. Is that right?
That's right. 480 East is actually I think it was in the fall of last year.
Yeah.
But they hit the #1 spot on the smooth jazz Billboard charts, which was pretty amazing because I was a flute player. Now, mind you, with smooth jazz, you never know who the players are. You just know it's 480 East. So that's Rob and Tony Grace. Those are the guys that are behind that band. And they're Canadian. It's a really good band.
And it's called Cinco Cinco Says, right?
Cinco Cinco Says, that's right.
Yeah. 556 basically in Spanish, for those of you who don't speak Spanish. Well, that's amazing. Congratulations on all that.
It's I'm quite happy and surprised at the same time. But it's worth checking out because there's a video attached to it, and it's a pretty catchy Latin female dancer. So it's worth checking out just for the visual.
Just for the visual, yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Speaking of visual, I wonder if we can bring Johnny back in here. And there's all three of us in the room together. Oh, my goodness. Johnny, I saw something. Thank you very much, Bill. It was wonderful talking to you. While you were playing, I saw Johnny get up and grab something from his quiver of trumpets. What do you got?
I was listening to Bill, man. Bill, you sound great.
Yeah,
man, just great. Listening to Bill going, I want to sound more like Bill. And he's playing a plastic flute. So I figured I should get a plastic trumpet.
Yeah. There you go. Plastic trumpet, plastic flute. Bill, do you have a response to that?
I never knew there was such a thing.
I never played the blues until I played a plastic instrument.
It's a P trumpet, it's called, right? A P trumpet.
Yeah, it's a P trumpet. Yeah. This is what, see, Tim, they cut the scene out, but this is what they used. This is what the stormtroopers played trumpet with in Star Wars in the original. They it's legit.
That's hilarious. That's funny. You were playing a little blues there, Mr. Summers. Bill, you have a response to that little blues lick? You can maybe challenge Johnny to a little bit of a jazz battle here?
I never knew what blues had to play, except I just played one. So that's funny.
Oh, here it comes.
Let's see. Oh, wait a second. Why not?
All right.
Swinging Shepherd Blues, Mo Coffin, Canadian. And thank you very much for that. That was a nice taste, a little Canadian nod during International Jazz Day. Thank you very much, Bill. What do you got, Johnny? Yay! Johnny, you can't. There's a little response. You can't find a plunger like that at the plumbing store, can you?
No.
No.
I think Cody Hutchinson found this one for me in the States
It's
somewhere
highly
when we were playing
specialized.
somewhere.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
It works.
It does
Not
work.
on toilets that I know of.
Gentlemen, it has been such a thrill to spend time with you here during International Jazz Day. And boy, are we lucky to have musicians like you here in Canada, and not only supporting the scene, but finding ways to be able to take your music to other places around the world. And boy, I'm sure thrilled to spend this time with you. Thank you so much.
Yep. No, I really appreciate it as well, Tim. Thanks to the Calgary Jazz Society as well. Much appreciated. Yeah.
You betcha. And we're going to find a way to get Bill McBirnie out here to Calgary, but also get you on the road so we can do some gigs together. Maybe you and I'll see if we can pull something together.
Oh, that would be cool. Excellent.
Johnny, you have a regular season and one that actually gets fired back up again. The Calgary Jazz Orchestra puts on, 5 concerts per year, is it?
5 theme concerts. Some of them have multiple showings, and then we do a schools tour where we do a show that we tour to all the schools and junior highs and high school programs in their theaters, and we'll do and then I tour with my 8-piece and my quartet outside of that. Yeah,
that's amazing. Well, congratulations to the both of you, Johnny. Congratulations on your new album, Baker's Dozen. Bill, congratulations on your book and on your #1 Billboard hit, Cinco Cinco Says.
So cool.
Such a thrill to have you here on JazzYYC's International Jazz Days. This is the first day of 28 days in a row, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. And we're going to sign off here. I'm going to just put this up here and just show you that 28 days, April 30th to May 27th, 2020 here, each night, 7 p.m., with a couple of exceptions because we have some international people coming up and that we have to put a little different time slot in. But we have a lot of people to thank for this, and so here's a little reel to say thank you to our sponsors.
JazzYYC would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support that has helped bring this virtual jazz festival to you. TD, Jazz Home Delivery, the City of Calgary, Alberta Foundation for the Arts, the Government of Canada, Calgary Arts Development, Inglewood BIA, CKUA Radio, Calgary Public Library, CADME, the Coalition for Music Education Music Monday, Studio Bell, home of the National Music Center, Decidedly Jazz Danceworks, and the Music Mile. Thank you. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, please subscribe to this page, and if you want to receive more information about this or any of JazzYYC's other upcoming programming, please visit jazzyyc.com and become a member.